You reach into your refrigerator, scan the rows of plastic-wrapped items, and eventually grab a carton of yogurt. For 99% of human history, this exact motion, the act of choosing what to eat based on convenience or desire, was physically impossible. You were not a shopper. You were a forager, governed entirely by the season, the landscape, and the unpredictable luck of the hunt. You did not have a grocery list, because your grocery store was the entire wilderness, and its stock changed by the hour. For roughly 300,000 years, this was the defining struggle and the defining rhythm of your existence. When we think of the Paleolithic diet, we often imagine a hypermasculine pursuit of mammoth steaks, imagining your ancestors constantly feasting on bloody protein. The reality, however, was far more nuanced and, frankly, much greener. For the vast majority of human evolution, your ancestors thrived not because they were elite hunters, but because they were elite gatherers. We have been conditioned by modern marketing to view meat as the centerpiece of a meal, but evolution tells a very different story. The anthropologist Richard Lee, in his landmark 1963 study of the Dobe-Kung people of the Kalahari Desert, completely revolutionized how we view early human nutrition. Before Lee's work, the common assumption was that early human life was defined by the hunt, a brutal, life-or-death struggle for meat. But Lee discovered something that shifted the paradigm. For this hunter-gatherer group, plant foods, nuts, berries, roots, and melons accounted for 60 to 80% of their total caloric intake. It wasn't about the kill, it was about the daily, methodical harvest. The men might return with game, but the women and children, through consistent foraging, were the ones providing the caloric stability that kept the tribe alive. Think about your own digestive tract. It is not designed for a steady stream of processed sugar, seed oils, or refined flour. It is an ancestral machine honed for high fiber, nutrient-dense, and highly varied plant matter. You likely struggle with modern digestive ailments, fatigue, or inflammation because your gut microbiome, the diverse ecosystem of bacteria living in your stomach, is starving for the complexity that characterized your species for millennia. You are feeding an ancient, specialized machine the wrong fuel, and then you wonder why it doesn't run quite right. Let's reconstruct a day in the life of your ancestor. You wake as the sun crests the horizon. You aren't reaching for a cup of coffee to kickstart your metabolism. You are scanning the brush. You don't have a schedule, but you have an internal map of what is ripe, what is poisonous, and what is hiding. You spend hours walking, using a digging stick, a simple, fire-hardened piece of wood, to uncover tubers or root vegetables. These starchy, fibrous roots provide the steady, slow-burning fuel your brain actually needs to function. They are packed with the prebiotic fiber that your gut bacteria crave. While you are foraging, you are also navigating a massive amount of sensory information. You are listening for the warning calls of birds, scanning for movement in the tall grass, and identifying the subtle scent of fruit on the breeze. This is not the mindless consumption we do today while scrolling through our phones. This is a high-stakes, hyper-aware interaction with your environment. You are constantly making decisions. Is this berry safe? Is this root worth the energy it takes to dig up? You are essentially a biological computer calculating calorie-to-effort ratios in real time. Then, there is the social aspect of food. Archaeologist Polly Wiesner, who spent decades documenting the Jew/Honzi, noted how firelight storytelling serves as a critical human adaptation. When you eat, you aren't just fueling, you are sharing. Sharing food is how early humans enforced social bonds, ensuring that even if one person had a bad day of foraging, the tribe survived. You ate in a group. You ate while talking. You ate while sharing the day's discoveries. Food was never a solitary experience. It was the glue that held the social fabric together. But here is the counterintuitive twist. Agriculture was, in many ways, a massive evolutionary trap. When we transitioned from foraging to farming about 10,000 years ago, our health outcomes actually plummeted. Skeletal evidence from early agricultural sites, the transition point where we see humans starting to live in permanent settlements, shows smaller body sizes, rampant tooth decay, and a dramatic increase in malnutrition compared to our hunter-gatherer predecessors. By tethering ourselves to a few domesticated crops, we traded nutritional diversity for consistent, albeit lower quality, volume. We effectively traded the vast, nutrient-dense pantry of the wild for a small, carb-heavy cupboard. Consider the work of James Sussman, who has written extensively on the affluent nature of hunter-gatherer life. He argues that early humans weren't constantly on the brink of starvation, as we often imagine. They actually had more free time, less disease, and a much more varied diet than the early farmers who followed them. Agriculture allowed for higher population densities, yes, but it came at the cost of the individual's physical health and nutritional freedom. We domesticated the plants, but in a very real sense, the plants also domesticated us. Today, you walk down the aisle of a supermarket and you see thousands of options, but you are likely eating from a list of only a few dozen genetically standardized items. You are living in an era of unprecedented caloric abundance and, simultaneously, unprecedented nutritional scarcity. Your body is still waiting for the diversity of the wild, the bitter greens, the seasonal fruits, the wild game, the varied tubers. Yet you feed it the predictable, limited convenience of the farm. We have automated our food supply so thoroughly that we have lost the very thing that made us human, the ability to discern and seek out real nutrition. Look at your plate tonight. How many different species of plants are on it? Probably one or two. Your ancestors, throughout the course of a week, would have interacted with dozens of different plant species, each offering a unique profile of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. They were essentially walking pharmacies, using the landscape to keep their bodies resilient. You are also dealing with the mismatch theory. This is the idea that our bodies are still biologically tuned to the Stone Age, even though our environment has changed at a breakneck speed. Your brain, in particular, is hardwired to seek out fats and sugars, because in the Pleistocene, those things were rare and meant survival. Now, those things are everywhere. You are fighting against 300,000 years of evolutionary programming every time you walk past a vending machine. It isn't a lack of willpower. It's a conflict between your ancient hardware and your modern software. So, how do we fix this? The answer isn't necessarily to quit your job and move to the woods. The answer is to understand that your body is a system that evolved in a world of variety. When you diversify your plate, when you choose the whole food over the processed one, you are giving your gut microbiome the signals it has been waiting for since the dawn of the species. You are honoring the 300,000 years of trial and error that led to you. The next time you open your refrigerator, remember that you are a descendant of the world's greatest foragers. You are evolved for the wild, not the aisle. You are built for a variety of foods that your modern brain has long since forgotten how to find. You are the product of 300,000 years of survival, and every single meal you eat is an opportunity to reclaim a tiny piece of that ancestral heritage. You weren't designed to be a passive consumer of convenience. You were designed to be a part of the landscape. And until you start eating like the forager you truly are, you will always feel just a little bit out of place, living in a world of abundance, while your body is still waiting for the wild.